Ms. Collins.
Here.
Reverend Cox. Ms. Guido.
Here.
Dr. DeHowitt.
Here.
Mr. Blau.
Here.
Mr. Michael.
Here.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
Here.
Ms. Pierce.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And now, it is our distinct pleasure to announce the people who are receiving tenure recognition and who are retiring after many years of service to the district. This one? Yeah. Oh. You want this first? Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. I went off the agenda. Apologies. P-152, Professional Personnel Tenure. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the following persons be appointed on tenure to the Kingston City School District in the area specified and on the date indicated, contingent upon the successful completion of his or her probationary period and maintenance of valid certification. Okay. Huh? Okay. And now, it's our distinct pleasure to hand out tenure recognition and
Are we going to vote on this first?
Aren't
retirement.
you going to vote on it?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Oh, I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
What happens in Okay, discussion? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Are we going to do CS 28?
And now, what?
We're going to do CS
CS
20.
20?
Deep breath.
I'm sorry, this is what happens when you have meetings before the meeting. CS 20, tenure.
CS 28.
28, tenure. Be resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the following teaching assistants be granted tenure in the Kingston City School District. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the following retirees be honored. No? Okay. And now, I have the certificates. I apologize.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our retirees and our teachers who are receiving tenure tonight. In a second, we will read off all the names, and the President of the Board, Mrs. Shearer, will be handing out certificates for those of you who have received tenure and those of you who have reached this point in your career, which is retirement. And I want to start by speaking just briefly about our retirees. First of all, thank you. We appreciate the fact that you spent your life dedicated to helping our children, to improving the lives of our children, and to improving this community, the Kingston City School District. This isn't an easy job, and it's not an easy job to do for the length of time that you've done it, but you've done it, you've become experts, you've become the professionals that you've always wanted to be, and now you have the opportunity to come back and work as consultants. We do thank you. We thank you for your service. We thank you for everything you've done for Kingston City School District. We're proud of the people who work here. We're proud of our teachers who have taught our students for so long. And we're proud, and I'm very proud to frequently see retirees come back, whether it's the central office or out in the community, and they come back and they tell me about a great student or a great colleague or their great experiences here. So I thank you. Congratulations. Enjoy your retirement. You've earned it. And we will talk quickly about our tenure teachers. So to our tenure teachers, you're on the opposite end of this spectrum. You've been here, you've worked hard, you've earned tenure, and I want to say that again, you've earned tenure. Tenure is not something that is given. It's not something where you sit in a chair or stand in front of a desk for 3 years and it's just given to you. You are evaluated, and we all know, when we watch the news and we hear what's going on, we know the evaluations are not just checklists. The evaluations are rigorous. Your work is exemplary. And that is why you have gained this achievement of being called a tenured teacher in the Kingston City School District. So I'd like to congratulate you, welcome you to achieving this honor, and hopefully we know the kind of teachers that you are because we've evaluated you and we've granted you tenure. We want you to stay. Stay in the Kingston City School District till you can be here and be given the certificate for retirement. So I'd like to give a quick round of applause to all these people before we call their names. We will start with our teachers who are achieving tenure tonight, being awarded tenure tonight. And I will call your name if you please come down and receive a certificate from Mrs. Shearer. Robin Brennan. Tyler Burns. Christina Deering. Anya Delaney Johnson. Dana Fitzgerald. Deborah Fitzgerald. Kelly Gardino. Patricia Guido. Lorianne Harrison. Maria Kren. Lindy Leonard. Anne Marie Mazzone. Michelle McCabe. Tracy North. Bonnie Parmalee. Jessica Price. Deanna Rizzo. Joanna Ruizi. Congratulations. Rideka Rudal. Elizabeth Stegmeyer. Patricia Tyrell. Sarah Warren. Those are our teachers who have achieved tenure. And now our list of retirees. Karen Bodie. Eileen Bradley. Kathleen Brown. Holly Bruce. Rosemary Conuel. Melanie Derenbacher. She got the biggest round of applause because she issues the paychecks. Jean DeVray. Winston Erlington. Leslie Gallagher. Karen Gessner. James Habernig. Carol Ham. Cheryl Hecht. Deborah Heisenbuttle. Michael Horbers. Karen Kaiser. Brian Landis. Joyce Luby. Ellen Luxberg. Christine Marmo. Mary McClellan. Craig Mislewski. Darlene Moore. Anita Norman. Paulette Schurer. Sharon Shriver. Suzanne Schwenk. Richard Sherman. Donald Stoutenberg. Constance Sullivan. Raymond Tater. Earl Tolson. Mary Patricia Van Heusen. Barbara Whithall. I would now ask if the Board of Education would like to make any comments at this time. We can just go down the line.
Do you want to start, Mr. Sean?
Well, I'll start with the retirees. I'd like to thank you all for your service, your many years of service to the school district, and I wish you all a happy retirement and good health and longevity. And to the tenured teachers or tenured staff, some of you are young, some of you are not so young, some of you have been tenured more than once. And we look forward to your dedication and service in the future. And thank you for the time that you've put, the time and effort you've put into earning tenure. Thank you.
I'll just add a little bit to that. To the retirees, or to everyone, I want to say congratulations and thank you. And to the retirees, happy retirement, and I wish you many quiet mornings in your future. And to those who've been granted tenure tonight, I know that you've worked very hard, and as Dr. Catalino said, I know that you've earned this and that you will continue to earn it. And I'd just like to say welcome to the team.
As we go through, there'll be left for us to say, but I do want to congratulate everyone who received tenure this evening, and we do know how hard you worked. And in terms of the retirees, please enjoy. Have a wonderful, wonderful retirement. May you stay healthy. May you find new interests. May you have time for your grandchildren and the quiet mornings on the day. So, congratulations.
I don't think there's a more important profession than that of people who pour into the lives of our children, because it not only impacts today, but it impacts the future. So I certainly grateful for those who have gone through the tenure process and have earned their tenure and who will make this school even better. And we certainly thank those who have given their lives and so many hours and time working with our young people and have impacted their lives. And you may never know all that you have done in their lives, because many times they don't come back to say. But in behalf of all the children that you've touched, I say thank you. In behalf of the school district, I say thank you. And I will let you know I'm also a retiree. It's wonderful.
I'd like to start also with the retirees. I'd like to congratulate you first. And I'm sure you lasted so many years with the district because you care for our students and you care for the community. And I would like to thank you for your love and dedication. As for the tenure teachers, I can say congratulations. As everybody says, you earned it. A few years back, we said a small welcome. Today, we'll roll up the big welcome mat. Welcome again, and thank you.
This is always the feel-good night. We have people on both ends entering and leaving a very rewarding and fulfilling career. I'm going to start with the people who have received tenure tonight. We know it's a long and arduous process. Honestly, as a teacher, I hope that you feel the way I do. It's the most fulfilling job you're ever going to do, and it's a calling. And thank you all for taking on that calling. We know that times are difficult now in the world of education, and I know that this board is welcoming to you, and we're going to do the best that we can to support you throughout the career. We're glad to have you on board here in Kingston City Schools. On the other end of the spectrum, as far as the retirees, the first thing I have to say is a lot of you look way too young to be retiring. Bless you, and I wish you a very fulfilling retirement. We thank you for your service. We know your dedication. I know I've had a couple of Collins boys go through some of those names classes as well. We know what a dedicated group you are. I hope that your retirement is fulfilling, and thank you.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the many retirees for the years of service. I wish you a happy and healthy retirement. I retired from the district, and here I am now on the board. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention Donna Whitman, who is not on the list, but she is retiring from the district this year. She's in the transportation department. Congratulations to everyone who received tenure tonight. I hope you have a long and rewarding experience in the district. Thank you.
Well, I'm last, so there's not much more that can be said. But I see a lot of faces that taught me, and I see faces that will hopefully teach my future children and our current generations, and I'm thankful for both ends of the spectrum. And congratulations. Tenured folk enjoy getting to where the retired folk are today, which is hopefully headed to a beach this summer. So congratulations, and thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you, Board of Education members. Now for closing remarks, our Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, Mr. John Burge.
If you're following along in the program, I'd just like to point out closing remarks. It says Alan F. Olson. I work with Alan F. Olson. I know Alan F. Olson. I would consider Alan F. Olson a friend of mine, but I know Alan F. Olson. I'm really the last person to speak, and what can be said has really already been said. It's really a privilege to be asked to speak, and I will keep it brief. I have always taken great pride in the people that I have had the pleasure of working with, both in schools and also in the district. So it's my honor to at least share a couple of closing remarks. To all of our honorees in attendance, or those listed on the program, no matter what your assignment or position, you have contributed to the teaching and learning goals of our district. This evening, we pause to recognize your service as we celebrate new beginnings and endings for both retirees and newly tenured staff. For our retirees, this marks the end of a chapter. For some, a career, a chapter of dedication, commitment, and service to the teaching and learning profession we lovingly call school. It's also the beginning of a new chapter, and whatever words fill the pages to come, this district's wish is that this chapter simply be titled for each of you, Happiness. To our newly tenured staff, this is the end of your probationary employment period that has been full of hard work, many countless hours, and doing whatever it takes to support your students' learning and the continuation of your own learning and professional skills. And tonight, a beginning of your new chapter as tenured educators. Tenure is an invitation by the Kingston City School District to stay with us. In doing so, our expectation for your new chapter's title is greatness. Great teachers have more than credentials, experience, intelligence, and tenure. It's what lies in your heart that will define your greatness as administrators, teachers, and teaching assistants. Great teachers continue to be kind, compassionate, empathetic, positive, and builders of relationships and community, just to name a few. So go inspire and go be great. Our profession of education demands leadership more than ever, not only from those who govern this organization, but throughout our schools. Leaders are the people that help an organization define its purpose and who help make the tough decisions on how best to achieve that purpose. They inspire others to work together and to do their best. We sincerely recognize all our honorees because of your leadership. Because through your actions, others have been or will be inspired to dream more, to learn more, do more, and become more. Congratulations and best wishes for a bright future for all of you. Thank you. In closing, I would also just like to thank the administrative support staff, Mrs. Carol Bell, Ms. Lori Palin, for all their help and support in preparing this evening's program, as well as Mr. Reinhardt and the Kingston High School custodial staff for all their support with this evening's program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. I would now like to invite everyone into the breezeway, where we will be having a short reception and celebration for both our tenured teachers and our teachers who are now retiring. Board members, unfortunately, you only get 10 minutes up there, and then we have to meet for executive session.
And we have to have a motion.
And we have to have a motion.
So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn into proposed executive session in 10 minutes to discuss matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, employment history of particular individuals, review of programs and placements for students with disabilities, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, and proposed acquisition, sale, release of real property where publicity would affect the value thereof.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll meet you in 10 minutes, your room 107. That's to your right. Okay, we have a resolution coming out of executive session, which I will read. Resolution BOE-93. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the Board President to execute findings and a decision on behalf of the Board of Education on KTF grievance number 141503. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Okay, discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and we have now reached that portion of the program where we have principals welcome by Mr. Reinhardt. Welcome, Mr. Reinhardt.
Good evening. Sorry about that. The KHS community would like to welcome the superintendent and the Board of Education here tonight to KHS. I would like to once again welcome and thank all our guests that were here earlier for the recognition for our tenure and our retirees. This has been a very exciting, eventful school year with the celebration of the 100 years and all the events. It really was a blessing for me to be allowed to be part of that this year, and I thank all of you for that opportunity. We look forward to the next 100 years and the excitement of being part of something new and amazingly special. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Okay, and now we've reached that portion of the program where we welcome the public to speak to the board. So if you wish to speak to the board, you have a 2-minute limit. It's not a conversation. Mr. Perna will let you know when you're approaching the 2 minutes. Anybody who wishes to speak to the board at this point? Okay. Seeing no takers, we'll move on, and I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Catalino for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Shearer. Only a couple of things on the superintendent's report this evening. I'm going to just quickly start. We do have a second century report from our architects at KSQ and our construction management team at BBL, and they're here. But I just want to, last time we met, I ran through a few things that were going on here in Kingston City School District over the few days after the meeting. I'm going to do that. Try to do that the next 2 meetings because there's so much going on, and I just want to try to keep people informed. And just so you don't have to scribble, write feverishly, I will email this out to all of you in the morning so you have So you have these. KHS students are getting ready for graduation. They picked up their caps and gowns today, on June 3rd. On Thursday, June 4th, is Bailey 7th and 8th grade chorus and orchestra concert. On June 8th, the Kingston High School Senior Awards Night from 7 to 9 right here at Kingston High School, where there will be more than $30,000 worth of scholarships awarded to students from our local community. On Wednesday, June 10th, the Kingston High School Senior Athletic Awards Night will be held, 6 to 9 at Kingston High School. On June 15th is the last full day of class here at Kingston High School prior to the Regents exams. So there's many other things going on. Those are some of the highlights that I wanted to let you know about. We also, this weekend, this Saturday, the Senior Art Symposium will be taking place. So there's things going on throughout the district. Keep your eye on our website for things, but I will email these lists that I talk about at the board meetings out to all the board members. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to...
June 11th is the public speaking competition?
June 11th is the public speaking competition over at Ulster County Community College. With that, I will hand it over to our construction management team, BBL, and our architects, KSQ. We have Scott and Robin here.
Give a quick update on the summer program.
Is it on?
At GW, they started on Monday. They started on Monday. They're working from 4 to midnight to install the unistruts, and they brought in their job trailer, and they're all. The submittal process is basically finished up for the summer. So that's really the only portion of the work that we'll be doing before school is out. We have a pre-construction meeting, final pre-construction meeting set for June 17th that will review the balance of the work that has to be done. And we have now full-time supervision. BBL has full-time supervision on site at GW for the second shift. As well, our superintendent is covering the pool renovation work, which the contractor will start tomorrow night. The pool has been drained. They're also working from 4 to midnight until school is out, and that is on schedule for completion August 14th. We have met with the custodial staff at George Washington. We've given him the site plan, the drawings and the documents, so that everything has been coordinated as far as that work goes, and really, until we get into it a little bit more, we don't expect there to be an awful lot going on. They'll have a total of about 4 to 5 guys working every night from 4 to midnight.
Regarding the high school project, if you recall, the projects are being submitted to the State Education Department for review and approval in packages. And so the first package that was sent was the field house, and a few weeks ago we received the final approval on that. And so behind the scenes, we've been working with BBL to finalize the bidding package for that. We also, back at the end of January, had submitted the additions part of the project, which is the huge piece of it, which is the classroom additions onto Salzman and the renovations inside Salzman. That was submitted as 2 packages. One, an early package, which will include the infrastructure, the steel, the foundation, and the exterior walls, windows, the envelope, as we refer to it. And then the remainder of the package is for all the interior fit-out, which is the mechanical systems, electrical, plumbing systems, all the interior walls, and then the finishes, the flooring, and the ceilings, and the lighting, and all of that. We just recently submitted some responses to the State Education Department for some questions that they had and clarifications that they asked for. We expect to receive approval on the early package within days. So we're hoping by the end of this week or sometime by midweek next week to get the approval on that. That would allow us to finalize the bid package and have that ready to go out to bid. And then following up on that will be the approval of the larger piece of the project, which is the interior fit-out. And the reason why we did it this way, we developed a strategy working with BBL and our team and the district to split it this way, because we knew that the approval process at the State Education Department is so long for the mechanical, electrical, plumbing portion of the project. We worked with SED and came up with a scenario which would allow us to actually get the project started under construction with the foundations and the steel and the exterior walls, while we're still waiting for the review of the mechanical systems and the electric and plumbing. This was to allow us that jump start in construction so that we can maintain the schedule that was presented to the community recently. So just as of a couple days ago, published on the SED website, they're expecting a 32 to 34-week turnaround. So we anticipate our comments for that portion of the project to come in sometime in, say, October. So we still have some time to wait for that, but as I said previous, we anticipate approval for the early package in the coming days.
So that being said, the field house package is ready. We have a notice to bidders ready that we can send out, and for the advertisement, which has to legally be in the paper for 5 days, and then we can, we would accept bids on the field house. Should they go out, the bid period would start June 11th, and we would accept bids on July 15th, with a mobilization on site for the field house on August 5th. The early Salzman package, counting on about a 1-week turnaround from SED for the final approval. The bid period would start June 18th and would also bid on July 15th. Mobilizing on site July 28th. And the reason that July 28th becomes a critical date, because as part of that early package, we have the storm tech drainage system, and that system will go into the bus loop here at the high school, and that has about a 5-week turnaround time to get that work done. So if we can get them mobilized the end of July, we can actually get the bus loop put back together for the beginning of school with the storm tech, not with all the piping attached or anything, but the storm tech drainage system itself in place. The abatement project, with a 1-week SED final turnaround, we're looking at a bid period from June 23rd to July 9th, accepting bids on July 9th. That way they can post the school, the high school, on July 24th, and substantial completion for the package that we have for abatement at the high school right now would be August 24th. So we would look for permission to send out the notice to bidders for the field house so that they can start their advertising as early as tomorrow. And so you can let us know if that can be done.
Question about the field. The field. What portion of the field house is going out for bid now? Is it the addition of the fitness center?
Yes, and the entire lower level.
And the lower level. The center, the upper level is in phase 2?
Yes.
Questions? So can you repeat that you're looking for permission to go out to bid tomorrow?
No. Well,
sorry.
exactly. What happens, the whole bidding process, you start with a notice to bidders. The notice to bidders has to go in the local papers, et cetera, for 5 days. You have to notify potential bidders that there's a project out there. You can't bid the project without advertising. So then we have a 5-day turnaround. It's in the papers, et cetera, for 5 days. And during that time, we print up all the construction documents. We have the printer print up numerous copies, And at the end of that 5-day period, which would be July 10th, or June 10th, I'm sorry, June 10th, then the documents are all set and the contractors can go out and purchase them and start to work on putting their bids together.
So what you're saying is you're waiting for the board's permission to do that. So
Exactly.
as soon as the board's ready, as soon as the board says yes or no, but if they say yes, you're ready to go.
Yes.
Okay.
And we would also like to be able to do the same thing once we get the approval for the early foundation, or for the early Salzman package as well. Once we get the final approvals, if we can start the 5-day notice to bid period, because this is a relatively tight schedule. And again, there is scope included in each of these projects that we would like to get started before school starts. In the field house project includes some of the temporary fencing around the site, and in the early Salzman package is the storm tech drainage and some of the other general conditions signage set up before. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Schulwitz.
I have a question for Dr. Catalino for his report. We had included in our packet, and I know it's on the website, an update on the capital project.
Yes.
And I wanted to thank you for putting this out. I think it's an important clarification of the process and what's happened and kind of where we are. But I wanted you to talk a little bit about these last 2 bullets here, where you talk about how the community can stay updated and what your thoughts are about how we would move forward.
What those last 2 bullets are, sorry. Okay, I'm with you. So talking about the possibility of having an owner's liaison or a clerk of the works. This is a conversation that's going on internally with administration, and there has been conversation at the steering committee regarding this. We haven't come to any conclusion on it, I don't think. I think that needs to be wrapped up. We have steering committee before the next board meeting. Before the next board meeting, I think that's something that we're going to have to come to a conclusion on, come back and report to the board of what the steering committee thinks, and let the board have that discussion as well. Okay. This policy, I received several, there's 2 ways to do this. So I received several options from our attorney, Margot, and she had said we can do it through resolution or we can do it through a policy. So I will bring those also to the steering committee and to the board. So I want to bring them to the policy committee. So I bring them to policy committee for them to take a look at those. And the board's going to make a decision whether we want to do it by resolution or by policy. It's really the same effect. Okay. But it limits the amount of money that can be approved for a change order by the superintendent. So we'll put a cap on that. So anything over, sometimes it depends on what the project is. Some would say 50,000, some would say 100,000. To give me the authority to look at and approve a change order, but anything above a certain dollar figure, it would have to come to the board, and the board would have to approve it. So it's just another way we're trying to put checks and balances into the whole project.
Okay, so both of these are about checks and balances in the project, and they're going to come back to us at a later date.
Yes, they'll be back to you by this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any resolutions that board members would like pulled from the consent agenda?
P-153.
P-150.
No, P-155. Sorry.
55, okay. Any others? Yes. Mrs. Lau?
B-128.
B1, sorry.
128.
128,
What was
thank
that,
you.
B-128?
Yes, B-128. Any others?
P-154, P is in personnel,
P-154.
and BOE-90.
BOE 90. Dr. Hurwitz?
And then BOE 84 to 86.
84 to 86?
Yes.
Okay. Any others? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda minus BOE 90, P 154 and 155, B-128 and BOE 84 through 86.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda minus the resolutions that were pulled, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, so we'll start with, let's say, P 154. Entertain a motion to accept P 154.
So moved.
Second.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Yes, Mr. Shaughnessy.
I would like to make an amendment that the words, the phrase, upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino, comma, Superintendent Schools, comma, be inserted after be it resolved.
Second?
Okay, no second.
Okay. No? No? Okay. Lacking a second?
Oh, wait, we have to second that?
Oh, I'll second.
There's no second.
I didn't
I'm
realize
sorry.
that was on the, I
Okay.
didn't realize there was
All right.
something.
Thank you. Discussion?
Oh, he made a motion. Okay, then I would second.
Discussion?
Well, discussion? Well, all of our personnel resolutions are done on the recommendation of Dr. Padalino, or the superintendent of schools, except these volunteer resolutions. And I frankly have not understood it since we started doing it. And I think it's a good practice that that the board act on the recommendation of the superintendent in personnel matters. So I hope that the board would, that Dr. Pavlino would be recommending these and that the board would accept the amendment.
So I would just like a clarification then on your amendment, Mr. Shaughnessy. So are you then saying we should strike or hereby approved by the Board of Education?
Well, no, it's still approved by the Board of Education, but it's upon the recommendation of the superintendent.
Okay, so it's similar to what we have in P-155.
And every other personnel
I'm just asking
resolution.
for clarification, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All right. Then we have an amendment to P-154 with the insertion of upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino before approval of the Board of Education. And all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. P-155.
Oh, we have to vote on the amended resolution.
I'm sorry, what? I can't hear.
Now you have to vote on the amended resolution.
Oh, okay, now we'll vote on the amended resolution. I just did. The amendment, okay, now we'll vote on the amended resolution. And the amended resolution reads, be it resolved that the following individuals who submit volunteer applications for Tier 2 volunteers and all of the required information pursuant to policy number 1250, upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino and the approval of the Board of Education, will serve as regular volunteers in the district.
Oh, well, I don't know. I thought that I was amending it so that it followed the pattern, the same format as all our other.
Okay, you want it to look just like this, the second one, okay. All right, so be it resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino, Superintendent of Schools, that following be approved by the Board of Education for Kingston School District's volunteer, Tier 2 volunteers, regular volunteers. Upon the approval of the Board of Education, you want that struck or you want that there?
No, they're hereby,
Stays there.
they're hereby approved.
Just add here.
Just add upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino, comma,
Okay.
Superintendent of schools, comma.
Superintendent
Okay.
of Schools, comma, okay.
All right. upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the following individuals who submitted volunteer applications as Tier 2 volunteers and all other required information pursuant to policy number 1250 are hereby approved by the Board of Education. On the recommendation? Yeah, okay. To serve as regular volunteers in the district. Yes?
Okay.
They get it right that time? Okay.
I think so.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Well, it's already moved, so we just have to vote.
Okay, so moved, second?
Second.
Okay. Now all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to P155. P155?
So moved.
Second? Second, okay. Dr. Chipolowicz. And discussion. Discussion? Who pulled it? Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Chipolowicz.
Okay. I have a few questions about this. On the third, be it further resolved, about setup for science and performance tests. What is that?
That's for the Regents, or for the exams, the high school exams. They have to set up for the science performance part of the exam.
Oh, it's for the Regents. It's
Yeah.
not for the fourth grade.
Right now,
test.
it's for the Regents exam. It's high school.
Okay. All right. That was one question.
Yeah.
And then the other question is about the last one, which talks about the in-service for the evening BLT meeting. And I just wanted a little bit more detail about that, what that in-service is going to be.
Okay.
There's the BLT meeting on June 10th at JFK Elementary. Does Mrs. Gibbons, you want to weigh in on that?
Yep.
Very good.
That is we're trying to involve more parents at the Kennedy School, and it will be teachers working with parents on the SEP plan and what they need to accomplish in the school.
So is it a select group of parents, or it's open to the...
It's open to everyone. We don't know how many are going to come, but it is open to everyone.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of P155, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B128.
I'll move P128.
Second. Okay, and second's been moved and seconded. Bid award? Questions? Mrs. Lau.
Yes, I pulled this. I know it's a revision of the last month, but was that a typo in last month?
Yes, it was, and Margarita told me to please heartily apologize. It
Okay.
was a typo.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No further discussion. All those in favor of B128, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Now we're on to BOE-84. We'll talk about 84 through 86 together. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Second? Do you want to talk about it together, all together? Okay, go ahead.
I just have questions, and kind of the same question about all of them, really, which is really about, I know that this is where we would be renewing these for next year, because this happened last year also.
Correct.
So I just wanted to get a sense of how it worked, and how the costs were split, and how the teams were split, and kind of how the collaboration went.
Well, the teams aren't split. The teams are merged.
No, I understand, but like how many from each district
Oh,
and
okay.
those kinds of things.
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers from each, which were from New Paltz, or which were from ours, or which were from Roundout, and which were from ours. I mean, I know the Alpine ski team is a very small group. So, and any expense that each year, as the kids come, when we find out how many, that's how we work with the expenses, if there are any.
And they're shared.
And they're shared really by the number of students. I mean, there are occasions where there's very little or no expense to the district. If there's one student, two students, and their transportation is provided, we're sending the bus with 20 kids. The bus holds 30. 2 more students on the bus doesn't make that much of a difference to us. So there's not a lot of expense involved in it, but where there is, it's shared.
And did any of our students not get to participate in this sport because there were students from another district that were participating?
No.
Okay.
That hasn't been an issue that we've had. I know it was brought up at a board meeting a few weeks ago. Issues like that tend to get to my desk.
Yes.
And those have not come to my desk. And sometimes in some of these mergers, you'll see mergers other than this. Sometimes the combination of the two schools is the only way we can, field a team or compete in every part of the meet.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Michael?
Yeah, I just recall from last year, we approved the merge with the Alciora Schools football team.
Yes.
Did they request a game?
Yes. They have.
Okay.
We approved that merger, I think, 2 meetings ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was also a concern about there's mergers with the Mount Academy that it have, but in actuality, the Mount Academy students who live at the Mount and go to the Mount Academy are in the Kingston City School District, and there really isn't a requirement for us to merge. If there is a sport that they don't offer, we are obligated to allow them to participate. So there really isn't the need for a merger. There still are students, and under education law, we're required to allow them to participate. They only ask for a few opportunities, but we have in the past merge, officially put in for the merge, but it's not required.
What type of cost would be involved because of their participation?
If the increase in students required us to add assistant coaches or transportation expense, if we went over, if it was a situation where it was only Kingston students, it would be one bus, but now that we're putting other students, it's 2. So there'd be transportation expense and those kind of things.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Mr. Shaughnessy?
Does that same policy apply to, would that apply to Coleman, if there were any Kingston children going to Coleman, that they would be allowed to participate?
That would apply to any private, yes. If they were a Kingston student, Kingston City School District resident, and there was something that was not offered, they would be allowed to participate.
In any private school?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of BOE 84 through 86, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion carries. And we're on to BOE 90. You want to move that, Mr. Sherman, please?
I'll move BOE 90.
Yeah. Okay, second? Second. Discussion.
I have a question. We're acknowledging receipt of this project labor agreement feasibility study. What is the status of that? Is that still a draft study, or is that not a draft study? Or is that something that's going to be determined tomorrow?
That's something that will be determined tomorrow.
Okay.
Is there any reason that we have to do this today, then?
Well, because we have a very long executive session next, and Dr. Carr could not be here today.
No, I mean...
This was on the recommendation of our attorney to acknowledge receipt of the project labor agreement tonight, prior to the presentation tomorrow.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of BOE 90, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, there is a special meeting for this purpose tomorrow.
6 o'clock.
Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at Sione, and it is on the website. The agenda's on the website. It's also been conveyed to the media. All right, that marks the end of the consent agenda, and we're on to the portion of the agenda where we deal with Board of Education reports. So, first up, diversity cadre.
Reverend Charles has asked that I jump in on that report. The diversity cadre met back on May 16th, I believe. No, May 16th was a Saturday, so it was May 19th, I think. Really, we talked about continuing the communication of our mission and vision that the group had put together and posted on the website. We also talked about the idea that we needed to find a better, we really need to communicate the resources that we've also put on the website. So we have the mission and vision of the diversity cadre in their own little link, but also over in the teaching and learning section, we have the resources that our group has come together to work on. We've also been meeting with Ed 360 outside of the diversity cadre, but at the request of the diversity cadre, teaching and learning has met with Ed 360. We have a second meeting with them coming up next week to talk about some of the professional development resources that they may be able to bring to the table. Several of us had an opportunity to look at some of their offerings. We liked what we saw, so we have several different options to look at there. Our hope is that we could find some impactful professional development that they're really in the form of videos that we could put on the website for student teachers to take advantage of for their own professional development on their own schedule. We also really something that we're very focused on is making sure that the mission, vision, and the beliefs of the diversity cadre are woven into our district leadership team process and our DTSDE process and our goal setting process. So we're not an organization or a group over here. We're woven into the tenets that we are all developing through the DTSDE process, and that will be a part of what our overall district goals will be. Last year we put through the DLT process. We had our goals were created, and we're working through that again this year, building on those goals, refining those goals. We want to make sure that we are explicit in the way that we talk about what we are working on in the diversity cadre, and it's really not the diversity cadre. It's the whole school district should be looking at this. We're just the ones kind of helping to frame the words and really push forward and help other people to understand we need to get this in. So we're doing that. We've met the groups, the subgroups from the DLT have been meeting to put together the tenets. I'm in charge of Tenet 1, which is one of the most important parts of getting in the mission and vision and the beliefs of the diversity cadre. So I have been working on that, and I actually have a due date to my group on June 8th to have those delivered to them. So we're moving forward.
Close.
Yeah, that's close. I got the weekend.
Any questions?
Did I miss anything, Reverend Charles?
No, you covered it pretty well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Collins, Policy Committee.
The Policy Committee last met on Friday, May 15th, when Mrs. Bowers stepped in and kindly ran the meeting. Got a number of annual policy reviews taken care of. And one of the things that was discussed is actually on tonight's agenda. We made a mistake here. It's not up for adoption, but it's regarding the school volunteer policy. So it's really a first reading of an adjustment that we made to it, which I'll discuss here briefly. But first, I just wanted to preface it by saying that Dr. Padalino gave us some information today that as of tonight, 1,033 community members have been approved as volunteers this school year. And I think that speaks a lot to the dedication not only of parents and caretakers in this community who are willing to step up and volunteer in our classrooms, which we're very appreciative. Secondly, it really speaks to the efforts of our administrative staff in taking the time to vet these people. I know there was some concern when we first started that, it might put a damper on volunteerism, but obviously it hasn't. And in being responsive and in moving that forward, when the committee had met, and this had come to our attention at a previous board meeting, I believe we were at J.W. Bailey, and parents had expressed some concern about not being vetted in time for a field trip. Sometimes things happen. In the appendix of the board packet, and I believe it's out on the web too, in school volunteers, the change is in bold on the first page. It's about 3/4 of the way down the page, and where it says, Tier 2 and Tier 3 volunteers must be approved by the Board of Education. However, the superintendent or his or her designee may grant emergency approval for volunteers pending future board approval. So that's what we're submitting tonight as a first reading, that addition to Policy 1250, school volunteers. And our next meeting will be this Friday, June 4th, 9 a.m. Mr. David Clegg, a local lawyer, I believe, Reverend Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, member of the Human Rights.
He's the chairman.
Chairman is going to be coming in so that we may continue our discussion. He's going to give us some input on restorative justice, so that should be a good meeting. Yes.
I just want to say I appreciate that change to the volunteer policy. I think that some people, and it hasn't been a lot, but a few have kind of gotten stuck in a where they didn't have a chance for approval before the field trip, and so this kind of will allow us to approve people a little bit in those instances where we need to. So I appreciate that change.
Thank you. I think that was the goal of the committee, to be more responsive and to continue vetting these volunteers. That's my report. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mrs. Collins? Great. And then we'll move on to Audit and Finance. Mr. Shaughnessy.
The Audit and Finance Committee met on Tuesday, May 26th. Mr. Ed Corelli, the Director of Food Service, was present, and he presented 4 items to us. The first was Community Eligibility Program, which is a program where schools that have or schools or combinations of schools that have a free and reduced lunch ratio of, I believe it's about 62%, can apply and receive full funding for breakfast and lunch from the state and Department of Agriculture. So will there be a resolution in the next board packet about that? Or was it in this one? I don't know. So we're going to combine GW and JFK, and we'll have that as a trial program next year, where all students will be entitled to free breakfast and lunch. The second item was a requirement. It's an annual. It's a requirement that faces us annually, that we have to increase our lunch or our meal prices by 20. But the recommendation is by 10 cents for both elementary and secondary lunches, in order to reduce the gap between what we charge for lunch and what we're reimbursed for by the state for free and reduced lunches. They don't want the free and reduced lunch program to be subsidizing full paid lunches, so that we have to do a modest increase each year. Since they keep raising the reimbursement rate, this is probably something that's just going to be continual every year, because we'll never get caught up unless we were to do it. You know, we could do it by, let's say, raising lunch prices by, 50 cents in one fell swoop, and we would be caught up. But the minimum requirement is 5 cents, and in the last several years we've increased prices by 10 cents. The third item was the 25-cent charge on reduced price meals. Are we eliminating that?
Correct.
We're eliminating that 25-cent charge. So it's no longer free and reduced. It'll be just free. And the fourth item was a free lunch program for summer park programs. We missed the deadline for, actually, Mr. Corelli approached the City Parks and Recreation Department, and they weren't interested in it. This would be an opportunity for the district to provide, essentially free lunches, and we would be reimbursed by the state to children who were participating in daytime park programs in the district. So that's something that perhaps we can do next year. It would also provide summer employment for our kitchen workers, and it would be at no cost to the district. So that was Mr. Corelli's presentation. We reviewed the claims auditor report and recommended that the board accept that. That's BOE-6-3-15.
claims auditor report for April 2005. And the same for treasurer's report, BOE-88. We recommend the board accept those reports, so I can consolidate those two.
Okay. Would you want seconds separately, or?
Well, I mean, we can do it, we can do it together.
All right. I'll second that.
So make the motion? You accept the reports?
He's seconding. James Michael.
Okay.
Okay.
Any question here?
Yes, I have a question about eliminating the reduced price lunch.
Excuse?
About eliminating the reduced price lunch. So, and is that across the board for the whole district?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all of those students will now qualify for free lunch?
No, that's not part of these two resolutions. It was part of Mr. Crowley's report. Can we vote on these and then get it?
Okay.
Okay. So, any discussion about the claims auditors or treasurer's report? All right, all those in favor of accepting, we're moving BOE 87 and 88 together. Would you signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Dr. Chapowitz.
Okay. So my question is about reduced lunch. Should I repeat it? Or?
Yeah, well, I think, as I recall the discussion, we collect $10,000 or $12,000 a year on these, on the 25-cent a lunch charge, and if we do that, then we have a requirement where if a student doesn't have the 25 cents for 3 consecutive times, then they get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich until their funds are replenished. And it's really a big headache, I guess, for the lunch for the lunch staff, and it's penalizing students, and especially the younger students. They don't have any control over it.
So these students will get free lunch now?
We're waiving the 25-cent charge for the reduced lunch.
But we'll get reimbursed as though it's a reduced lunch and not a free lunch?
But my understanding was that we get reimbursed for all the students that are getting the free lunch now anyway. If you eliminated the 25 cents, you get reimbursed for all the free lunches.
We'll get reimbursed for the lunches that aren't paid for that way.
Right.
Right. So we're just subsidizing the other piece of the reduced.
We don't actually. We get reimbursed for that. We don't subsidize it.
We don't get, we do not receive the 25 cents back. We get full reimbursement for the full price lunch and reduced reimbursement for the reduced price lunch.
Right.
So that 25 cents that we are not charging, we do not, that is a loss to the district. Now, the other side of that is we, as Mr. Shorty said, we're not penalizing students who show up and forget their quarter 3 days in a row. And the other thing is, when this was done several years ago, probably before I arrived, so 5 or 6 years ago, right before we switched to Aramark, and then now we're back, the increase in number of meals served because students didn't have, because students now, they didn't need the quarter, so there was students who we almost doubled the numbers of meals served. So in the volume, they made up the 20%.
I mean, my concern really was that those children still received a free lunch.
They will receive it.
Yes,
but then if we weren't going to, then I just wanted to understand what was happening to the 25 cents. So I support that, and I think that's actually important, but I just wanted to be clear that it's not like these kids are now, we're not getting reimbursed for them as though they're a free lunch. We're still getting reimbursed as though they're a free lunch, and we're just thinking we'll make it up in scale, is really what you're saying.
Make it up in scale and in labor.
And in lack of peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but yes, you're right.
And I think also, I don't think we get reimbursed, if we give them a peanut butter sandwich, I don't think we get reimbursed for that.
Right.
But if we do give them a full meal, even though they don't have the 25 cents, we get reimbursed for the reduced price lunch, which is $2.65 or something like that.
Okay.
So, for sacrificing the 25 cents, we get, on many, many occasions when children don't have the 25 cents, we get $2 and some, $2.65 back from the state for that for that full meal that we serve them rather than the peanut butter and sandwich.
Yeah, I think the overall picture is we lose very little, and we are ensured that more students eat.
Okay, no, that's good. I just wanted to understand it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, and on to old business. Does any board member have old business he or she would like to bring up? At this time, old business. Okay, yes?
Just a
Reverend
question.
Child.
I know we were looking at the solar for the school district. Do we have any more information on that?
Mr. Olson, do you want to? Solar?
Yeah, we're still working on a project with the state, whereas the state is going out and going to make it's going to be on a state contract, I believe, and we're going to be party to that, so that when that all is signed, sealed, and delivered, we will hope to participate in solar offerings by the state with this collective effort.
Yes, Reverend Child.
Will that include county administration? I mean, is what the state's doing, is that just for educational, or is that including county government, etc.?
Yeah, I think it's a statewide program, not just for schools, but for counties, cities, the whole bit. And I think one of the things that we ran into was we were looking on our own, and we kept kind of getting the feedback, we'll wait for this thing from the state because this is going to be better for you. So that kind of has put us in a little bit of a treading water phase on this. Alan, you want to add something else?
No, that's essentially right. And so the state is creating this statewide program contract. Thank you.
Any other? Yes, Mr. Michael.
Yeah, I have a question with Dr. Padalino about the Smart Schools Act. What is our status as for now? When are we going to be applying?
Well, we can't start applying until the 15th of June. And at that point, we still have, we have more than a year to actually make an application and receive, any benefits from that. We have, as far as technology is, we've started kind of our wish list and looking at what we're also trying to align our smart schools possibilities with our building projects to make sure that, if there are things that we can purchase and have installed through the smart schools, that we're not putting that into our building projects and creating debt where we don't have to. So we're trying to align that correctly. We're still in the process of putting together our complete plan.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Okay, new business. Under new business, we have our Legislative Action Committee has been hard at work, and I want to thank especially Dr. Chkowitz, Mr. Shaughnessy, and Ms. Vega. And we have two resolutions that they're bringing to us tonight. The first, BOE 91, and Dr. Chkowitz.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Legislative Action Committee has been busy in the last few
Can you speak into the mic? Sorry. Thank you.
We have been busy in the last few weeks, and we have two resolutions that we'd like to consider for tonight. I'm going to read one, and then Ms. Guido has promised that she'll read the other. And then we will entertain questions about them and have a conversation. So the first one is BOE 91, and it's about the Education Investment Incentives Act. It's in opposition to the Education Investment Incentives Act. So I'm just going to read it. Whereas legislative bills S. 1976 by Golden and A. 2551 by Cusick promote the establishment of an Education Investment Incentives Act, and whereas these bills, which have the support of Governor Cuomo, would allow for tax credits to be given to individuals, corporations, and partnerships for donations to public, private, and charter schools. And whereas while these bills may purport to support public education, their application would, in fact, have a deleterious effect on public education by draining funds from the state general fund to reimburse up to 90% of high-income donors' contributions. And whereas while some funds can be donated to public education under these proposals, the vast majority of such donations would come to wealthy schools from wealthy residents, thereby further increasing the financial disparity between schools. And whereas the distribution of scarce financial resources for education under the provisions of these bills would be uneven and at the discretion of the donor and not based on the educational needs of students throughout New York State. And whereas the New York State Constitution prohibits direct or indirect financial aid to private schools under the control of a religious denomination or where religious tenets are taught. And whereas New York State has not yet fulfilled its commitment to the funding of public education under the requirements of the Campaign for Fiscal Equity, such that the state is nearly $5 billion behind full funding of the foundation aid formula, and furthermore, more than $1 billion in state aid reductions still exist through the gap elimination adjustment, and the state should not be reducing its financial capacity to properly fund school aid by diverting hundreds of millions of dollars annually from the general fund. And whereas these measures would serve to erode New York State's constitutional commitment to public education, therefore be it resolved that the Kingston City School District Board of Education calls upon the legislature to reject these bills and stand in support of public education in New York State.
Thank you, Judge. Entertain a motion to move Resolution 2014, BOE 91.
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion? Yes.
It's an important issue right now. This is in part of the legislature now, and it's part of the legislative discussion that's happening. And we really believe that it would adversely have an adverse impact on public education in the state. And so we believe pretty strongly that these bills should not pass.
We think the governor is trying to have these approved in the next few days.
Yes, he is. So it's crucial that if we're going to contact our legislators, either via resolution or personally contact them by letter or phone call, that we do it as soon as possible. Mrs. Collins.
I'd like to thank the committee for their work, proactive work on this important issue. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, all those in favor of Resolution BOE 91, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. And now we'll move along to Resolution BOE 92, which deals with releasing test questions. Ms. Guido.
Okay. BOE number 92, whereas parents, educators, school board members, and taxpayers are stakeholders in the enterprise of public education in the Kingston City School District and have vital interests in being able to evaluate the efficacy and fairness of public education programs. And whereas the New York State Education Department requires all public schools in the state to annually administer state assessments in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math based on Common Core standards adopted by the New York State Board of Regents. And whereas in the spring of 2014, 77% of tested students in the Kingston City School District failed to achieve grade level standards in the ELA assessments, and 75% of tested students in the district failed to achieve grade level standards in the math assessments. And whereas in the spring of 2013, 73% of tested students in the district failed to achieve grade level standards in ELA, and 82% of tested students in the district failed to achieve grade level standards in the math assessments. And whereas in the spring of 2012, 45% of tested students in the district failed to achieve grade level standards in ELA, while 45% of tested students in the district failed to achieve grade level standards in the math assessments. And whereas there have been numerous reports that test questions are many years above grade level, multiple choice questions have more than one plausible answer, and scoring sheets are incorrect. And whereas NYSED has imposed secrecy mandates on the state assessments even after the tests have been administered. And whereas the results of the assessments are a major component of the APPR teacher ratings. And whereas parents have a right to review tests to determine that their children are being fairly assessed. And whereas just as stakeholders have a right to hold schools accountable for the performance of their education programs, they have a right to hold NYSED accountable for the annual state assessment program. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Kingston City School District demands that the NYSED release the spring 2015 grade 3 through 8 state assessment test, answer sheets, and grading rubric after the last test administration date of the test. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education of Kingston City School District demands that NYSED immediately release the spring 2012, 2013, and 2014 grades 3 through 8 state assessment tests, answer sheets, and grading rubrics. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education of the Kingston City School District demands that the New York State Attorney General and the New York State Comptroller refuse to approve any future contracts between NYSED and outside vendors that fail to provide for the release of grade 3 through 8 state assessment tests, answer sheets, and grading rubrics after the last test administration date of the tests.
Okay, entertain a motion?
Second.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and second. Discussion. Mr. Shaughnessy.
We as Board of Education members, have to carry out state mandates. We have to, we can't recommend it. We can't not follow those mandates. But I think that we have an obligation to speak out when the way that those mandates are carried out are as obviously problematic as the state assessment program has been in the last few years. And so I think that if we pass this resolution, we're not violating our obligation to carry out state mandates. We're just demanding that they be done fairly. And up until 3 years ago, when the state preparations were taken over by Pearson, all state assessment questions were released after the tests were done. The contract with Pearson is $32 million. And we have I don't know, how big is the state education budget? $55 billion. We can't afford a few $1 million to make these tests transparent for parents and teachers and the public. I think that we really need to take a stand on this.
Any other comment? Question? Ms. Guido.
Well, and in addition, there's no way we hear very often from parents, there's no way for them to, it's just a number to gauge where their child needs help. So in order to make them more applicable in the daily learning and for teachers as well, I am in support of not so much secrecy. Just adding that.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, Dr.
I agree. I think that transparency is important, and I think that especially when we're using these tests to judge teachers and schools, I think it's important that we see them.
I would concur, especially in light of the governor's plan to rate teachers based upon how students do on the test when they have no idea, what was on the test. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay. All those in favor of BOE 92, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Any other new business? Any other new business anybody wants to bring before the board? Okay, board member announcements. Mrs. Collins.
Just briefly, I know several of us were there, but I wanted to thank Mr. Reinhardt and Honor Guard and the students and everybody who participated in the really well-done Memorial Day ceremony. I don't know if any community members had a chance to attend, but something I think is important to do every year. The students that attended were really reverent and well-behaved, and I just thought it was very well done, so kudos and thank you, Mr. Reinhardt, and those who put it together.
Anybody else? I would also like to compliment Mr. Reinhardt for a seamless ceremony. It was wonderful, it was solemn, it was beautiful, and anyone who would like to view the plaque, we begin with the plaque dedication. It's in the hall to the left of the doorway out there. So it's in honor of the young men who lost their lives in conflicts for the first 100 years, Kingston High School graduates. So, anybody else? All right. We've reached the second portion of the meeting. I realize the mic was so close. Where we welcome public participation. So if there's anyone who would like to address the board now, the rules are still the same, 2-minute time limit, and Mr. Perner will let you know when you're approaching that. It's not a conversation, but by all means, please come up. If you have something to say to the board. No? Okay. And having no takers, I'll now entertain motion to adjourn to executive session. Matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, and there is going to be no action coming out of executive session. So, can we adjourn now?
Second.
To adjourn to executive. Yes. Okay. Second. There's a second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so we're back in room 107, and there'll be no action coming out of this executive session. Thank you for coming. Good night.
Well, what if it's right?